Welcome to Beyond the Balance, where we redefine wealth and rebuild futures. Because financial freedom isn't just about numbers, it's about making your money work for you, your future, and your freedom. We're here to talk about wealth, growth, and the stories that prove you don't need a perfect balance to make a perfect comeback. Self-care isn't just a luxury, it's a necessity, especially for high-achieving women who give so much of themselves to their careers and others. Today on Beyond the Balance, we're joined by someone who is redefining what self-care truly means. She is a self-care alchemist, helping executive women beat burnout and set boundaries that protect their well-being. She is also the creator of Sammy A, a digital self-care BFF designed to support balance and bliss. Get ready for an insightful conversation on prioritizing yourself without guilt. Welcome, Samantha A. Gregory.
Thank you so much, Kyla. It's good to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
No problem at all. I am so excited to have you here. Before we dive in, I'd love to know, was there a moment in your life that made you realize self-care needed to be a priority and not just an afterthought?
Yes, it was. And I think it was many moments, but the main one was when I was about 32 years old. It was Black Friday, winter time, and I was out shopping with my best friend, and we were in the shopping center, and all of a sudden I just started sweating profusely. And I was like, what is going on? Why am I feeling like this? And I was starting to take my clothes off layer by layer till I was down to my camisole and just my bottoms. And I was like, this something is wrong. And my best friend was like, girl, something is wrong. And so
Yeah, wow.
I got dressed. Well, I put my clothes back on because we had to go out, back outside. And I was just thinking about it and wondering what was going on. And was like, this really can't be what I think it is. Like hot flashes this early. I was only 32 years old.
Right.
And I was just confused. And then when I got back home, because I was visiting, I got back home and I went to my doctor because the symptoms were persisting. They were not going away. It wasn't just a one-time thing. This was like every day, every night, I'm just breaking out in a sweat, or at night, I'm cold sweats and anxiety and stress and insomnia. And I went to the doctor, they did tests, and they diagnosed me with premature ovarian failure, which is another word for early menopause. And
Wow.
so that was the wake up call for me to let me know something was wrong and I needed to pay attention to myself and to my body, because if I continued on the same path, then things would get worse and worse. So I would say that was the defining moment for me. And that is when I figured out something was wrong and I needed to really sit up and pay attention.
Wow, that's profound. So, may I ask you, what was the first thing that really helped you overcome those symptoms?
The first thing was rejecting hormone replacement therapy because at the time there was a lot of side effects, there was a lot going on, and I just really didn't want to be locked into that. So I went back to my naturopathic roots that my family and I learned, and I started researching, looking for solutions to my physical problems, and trying to find out ways to ease the symptoms. But then I also knew I needed to get to the root of the symptoms as well. So even further research, I realized that I was probably having adrenal fatigue, high cortisol levels, and just all the things that points to chronic fatigue syndrome. But because mine had gotten so bad, my reproductive system started to shut down. And
Wow.
I went through a process of taking supplements and herbs and looking for other things to manage the physical symptoms. And then I realized I really needed to manage the emotional symptoms, the mental symptoms as well, because that was really where the struggle was coming in. That's what was causing the physical issues for me. And I created a cream called Bliss Body Butter. I call it that now, but it was a magnesium infused, lavender infused body butter that I use in order to calm my symptoms down. And that really helped me. And that helped me normalize myself physically. And then I just decided, I needed to practice radical selfishness. I needed to start focusing on myself because it was no longer about me being a people pleaser and me walking around trying to take care of everyone else and neglecting myself. So those are some of the things I did in order to mitigate the symptoms, to start the healing journey. But I had a long way to go even from there.
Radical selfishness. I absolutely love that. I mean, as a woman, I know it is very easy for people to just kind of dump stuff on you, especially
Hmm.
if you're not feeling well. They make you feel bad for complaining and
Right.
trying to figure things out. And if you go to the doctor, they try to force stuff on you, and
Hmm.
it's very hard to say no to other people's demands and what they think is good for you. And truly, as a woman, you're composed of so many things that you really have to take a lot of time to learn who you are and how
Hmm.
your body reacts in certain situations. So I absolutely love that.
Yes, I totally agree. And the radical selfishness, it does give people like cringe moments. They're like, wait, I can't be selfish because the world tells me I shouldn't be selfish. My parents, the church, everyone else says I should be giving and to the point of self-sacrificing, to deny myself, all the things that we heard growing up, especially if you were heavily in the church, and or a culture that says that as a woman you should be taking care of everyone else, you should be giving to everyone else, and you should put yourself last at every point, every time.
Exactly. Wow. As a woman, it's sometimes you just have to hear somebody else that is of the
Hmm.
same gender say
Yes.
something that you are experiencing so you can sit down and
Hmm.
really say to yourself, I really need to just be me.
Yes.
And being your most authentic self is really what's going to help you be healthy, to be
Hmm.
honest. That's all you can do. And so I really love that, and I thank you so much for sharing that part of yourself, because I'm pretty sure somebody's going to listen to this and really say, I needed to hear that too.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm look. I'm always out here evangelizing about self-care, radical selfishness, because it's time for women to wake up, specifically Black women, to really wake up to ourselves, to the reality and the truth about what we deserve. Because
Yes.
we put ourselves on the back burner for so long, but we deserve rest, we deserve balance, we deserve to be selfish for once in our lives, and in this generation as well, and going forward. So I feel compelled to share my story as well as encourage and inspire and empower other women to create their own self care story as well.
Absolutely. I don't remember who said this, but there was a famous black singer that said, I am not your superwoman. And I 100% agree with that.
Hmm. Absolutely.
I have my first question here, which is, what are some of the biggest misconceptions people have about self care?
The biggest misconception I think people have about self care is that they confuse self care with pampering. And so they figure, well, let me go get a massage. Let me go hang out with the girls on the weekend for brunch and get mimosas. Let me get a mani pedi. Let me just, do all the things externally to for self-care, not realizing that's really pampering. That's
Right.
taking care of an external thing for a short-term period of time, but self-care is a long-term commitment that you make to yourself to figure out, like you said earlier, who you are so that you can be clear about what you will and will not do, have your boundaries in place, taking care of your emotional needs, your physical needs, your spiritual, financial needs. And so this is more of an inside out job than an external thing that you do in order to feel comfort, to feel better, to ease your tiredness. So I think that's one
Wow.
of the biggest misconceptions that people have about self-care.
Wow, that I don't think I've ever heard self-care be explained that way.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a beautiful way to put it, because if you're focusing on the external, right,
Right.
um, it can be more stressful than
Yes.
not stressful, I guess, and that
Mm-hmm.
might turn people off to the term self care as a whole, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it also feels like, oh, this is something else I got to add to my to-do list, something else I got
Right.
to pay for. And so it's not really about that. It's real, again, almost a self-development type of exercise and experience. I like to call it an experience
Right.
that you can embody, make an intrinsic part of yourself, make it a lifestyle. Because I'm calling it, creating a self-care lifestyle, and that's very different from having a pampering, let me spoil myself. And there's nothing wrong with that. Let me
Of
make that
course, right.
caveat. There's nothing wrong with spoiling yourself. You should absolutely do that. But it should not be the solution to the issues that you may be facing, like burnout, overwhelm, and all the things that we're trying to run and escape from by doing pampering activities.
Okay, I love that. And that brings me to my next point then. I was going to ask you, can you share some of your favorite budget friendly self care practices? But I kind of want to change that question around just
Sure.
a little bit.
Hmm.
Minusing the budget friendly practice part, I guess I can ask, self care then can be completely free, right?
It can, yes. In general, self care being almost a free thing, but you do have to pay the price. I'm going to make sure I bring that up. You do have to pay the price in your time. You have to pay the price when it comes to your willingness to dig deeper and look at your practices that's keeping you in this place of burnout and overwhelm and feeling stuck, dealing with all the anxiety and depression and irritability and insomnia. All those things must be addressed in order for you to really apply the self care strategies I'm going to share with you. So I
Okay.
just wanted to give that caveat. It doesn't mean that you have to go out and spend hundreds or thousands of dollars, but it does mean that you're going to have to be open and willing to experience a little bit of discomfort, maybe a lot of pain because you have to heal some things and deal with some trauma but by practicing these self-care strategies, you're creating a foundation so that you can go through the process of healing, finding happiness, and being whole. So, just again, that's my caveat. There is a price to pay, but it's not what we think when we're thinking about pampering or we're thinking about budget-friendly self-care practices. So, when
That
it
is
comes,
powerful. That is powerful.
yeah, I just really wanted to bring that up because look, I paid the price in order to be at this space in my life, and it took a lot out of me, but it wasn't even. It's like I don't know if you've heard that sculptors, when they're sculpting a art piece, they have to chip away at all the things that does not end up being this piece of art, right?
Right.
So we have to chip away all the things that is not our true selves, that doesn't allow us to be authentic, that doesn't allow us to practice radical self care, that doesn't allow us to live free and happy. And
Wow.
again, it can be painful, but at the end, the masterpiece is beautiful, and you are beautiful. So if we can keep that in mind and keep that as our goal, then I think going through this process of paying the price for self-care and using the strategies that I'm going to share with you, um, you can you'll be more willing to pay the price for that.
Absolutely. I'm so happy to learn what these strategies are. Please tell us.
Sure. So I'm going to go from like the easiest to the most challenging, I guess I'll say. One of the easiest self care practices is if we want to. do something just to give us some comfort and make us feel good, I share with people, well, you can take a candle and make that a part of your everyday experience, like especially in the morning when you get up and go take a shower, light a candle and have
Wow.
create a spa experience in the bathroom. Turn on your music and allow that to be the time that you spend with yourself, caring for yourself, and looking at yourself in the mirror and affirming yourself. By creating this atmosphere, then it elevates your day. It elevates your entire life. And if you make this a practice, a habit, light a candle, it's like a ceremony, it's like a ritual that you do. And I'm really big
Right.
on rituals. I have a morning magic ritual process that I do. It's like 7 steps. And in those 7 steps, I get to decide if I want to do all 7 of those things, or if I want to do one or two, or if I want to do one, or if I want to do three or four, based on my energy level. And I think if we have to really tap into what is our energy level for today, and how do we want to show up in the world, and do the things that we want to do that will help us feel empowered for the day, elevate our day, and really prepare us for the world outside. And so we're not rushing around, we're not taking care of everybody else first and putting ourselves last. We are setting an intention to be mindful of who we are, how we feel, and how we want to show up in the world. So that's like one of the simplest things. So lighting a candle, turning on some music, and spending time with yourself. And if that means you get up 15 minutes earlier, 30 minutes earlier, just to have that me time, then do that. And it's again, it's free. Everybody can afford a candle. You can afford a
Right.
lighter
Yeah.
or some matches. You could
Absolutely.
turn on some music. It's about creating this environment, this atmosphere of care for yourself, right? Um, so the next thing I would say is building boundaries, creating boundaries for
Okay.
yourself so that you are not straining yourself, you're not overgiving, you're not overwhelming yourself, but you are giving yourself the time and the space to do what you want to do first, filling your cup up first, so that you can give, if you decide to give from the overflow instead of the last drop from this place of depletion. So that's a second strategy I would suggest is decide what's my limit. And you have to set boundaries with yourself first. And I think
Yes.
that's where a lot of people go wrong. It's like, okay, I'm gonna set these boundaries. I'm not gonna let this person do this or that person do that. Well, first you gotta set boundaries with yourself and say, how far am I willing to go for a person, a job, a organization, or or whatever it is, and you set those boundaries for yourself in your time and your energy and your attention. And if you can do that, then you are able to set those boundaries naturally overflow into other areas of your life. And people begin to see, okay, so she's not available for this, she's not available for that. You start to block time off on your calendar for yourself. That's one of my favorite things to do. And so when someone asks you to do something, you say, well, let me check my calendar. I have a lot going on, so let me check my calendar. And if the things on your calendar are literally the things you do for yourself. So it could be, okay, I'm going to, give myself a manicure. I'm going to give myself a pedicure. I'm going to take myself to the movies. I'm going to go to the bookstore. Whatever it is you want to do for yourself, you put it in on the calendar first. You block that time off. And then the other things that you want to do, whether it's for your work or business, things you want to do for your family. You block time off on your calendar, so you're proactively creating these barriers and buffers and boundaries, so people can't just dump themselves on your calendar. They won't, you won't feel the pressure to do things for people that you don't want to, or feel guilty or shame, or they try to make you feel guilt or shame for not doing it because your calendar is full, and that you can't help that. So I would say
Absolutely.
that's, some strategies that you can use, self-care strategies you can use in order to create the life that you want to live without the stress and the pressure of being the people pleaser, the superwoman for everyone else.
Wow. And I think I'm gonna start doing that myself actually because
Hmm.
you made me realize that I'm over here looking at my calendar and it's all work. It's
Yep.
literally all work, and I'm
Hmm.
like, oh, maybe I can throw in there, an hour or so, read a book,
Sure.
do something, that I enjoy doing because I've been
Hmm.
thinking the past few days, geez, I have all this work to do and I just want to read a book. And I'm, I'm looking now and I haven't made the time. So
Right.
thank you for that. I'm
Oh,
going to
yeah.
be practicing that as well. And what you said about boundaries are so true. It is very true. I say this, especially in terms of finance, all the time.
Hmm.
You have to be able to trust yourself first. You
Hmm.
have to be able to consult yourself first before trying to consult anybody else. You
Right.
know, if you don't know anything about your credit, but you're going to turn around and ask somebody else about your credit,
Hmm.
you're opening doors to be abused
Right.
and be used. And
Hmm.
down the long term, you'll be more stressed and frustrated and angry, and you'll not want to do it in the long term. And so I completely agree with everything that you're saying, and I love that you make the time for yourself and build that trust with yourself. That
Hmm.
is beautiful.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and here's the thing, when you really think about it, these strategies are so simple. They're doable. You do not have to stretch your brain in order to do these strategies. You can literally do them today. It's an
Right.
immediate, immediate thing that you can do to literally start shifting your life, changing your life, and creating space for you to um, heal from any kind of abuse, trauma, imbalance that you have in your life, and start enjoying life.
I mean, I'm realizing now the way that you're approaching this situation is, or sorry, topic
Hmm.
is, I guess cost, because this podcast is so much about financial journeys.
Hmm.
It doesn't really have to affect the way that you treat yourself. And that is a beautiful thing. So I'm going to find myself skipping over some of the things that I wanted to ask you
Okay.
because I'm finding that they absolutely don't matter. I'm going
Hmm.
to let you kind of take the reins here. I will ask you one question,
Sure.
because money does matter, because I'm
Hmm.
realizing here, especially during this economy,
Hmm.
that money does affect the way that people treat themselves.
Yes.
And self care, as I'm learning with you today, doesn't have to be that. We can find our way to financial success or overcoming our debt and stuff like that, but still regard ourselves as the great person that we are. And how do
Hmm.
you recommend that? Like, have you ever had to balance financial responsibility with self care?
Actually, I think it goes hand in hand because I wrote an article a while ago about financial self-care. I had to make some really hard decisions about how I was treating my money, managing my money, the relationship I have with my money, and I spent a lot of time in guilt and shame and beating myself up when it came to my finances, when it came to how I was managing or mismanaging my money. And I think that it does, like you said, it does impact you. It does because it can be a source of stress. I mean, we all know that money can be stressful.
Oh my gosh.
Money can be a source of shame and guilt and all the things because depending on your family of origin, depending on your culture, society, the narratives that we hear every single day about money, even now with the economy and how things are looking, it's easy to allow the news about recession and stock market falling and job loss and all those things to really stress us out. And so we
That's
have to
true.
practice financial self care by looking at what matters to me. How do I want to move in the world, regardless of what's happening out there, and not allow it to impact or affect me in such a way that it has me tied up in knots? And that's where the self care comes in, where you take an honest look at your money, you take an honest look at your money mindset, and you begin to shift and realize that on this planet, there's so much abundance here. There's so much available that we don't have to pay for, like air. We don't have to pay for the oxygen we get from the trees. We don't, that's in abundance. And now we're in spring during this recording, and things are going to start blooming. And trees don't worry about the leaves that fell off and died. They know they're going to always get more. And every
Wow.
spring, we see more leaves growing, we see more flowers blooming, we see more grass growing and green and beautiful, and we get to experience that. And so we can shift our mindset a bit and we can and focus on the abundance that's around us, then the economic news that we hear won't impact us as much. And with this change in financial in abundance and prosperity mindset and the energy of that, then we'll see, my money actually looks better. I'm
Right.
not worried about it. I'm not stressing about it. Opportunities keep coming. I got a raise. Things start to happen because the vibration and the energy that you adopt of abundance, it it has no choice but to be attached to you, attracted to you, magnetized to you. And so that shift financially in the money mindset arena, which I call, which is part of self care and financial self care, it definitely will give you a different perspective. It will raise your natural vibration. The energy is different, and so you don't have that "woe is me, life is horrible, I can never make money, and things are bad
Right.
financially." That just is what it say. The thing that you pay attention to is are the things that continue to appear in your life. And so if we can be mindful of that, mindful of how we look at things in the world that's being reported to us and decide, does this apply to me? Does this really matter to me? If I let it, that's me allowing other people to control me and my
Yes.
circumstances, and they are really literally messing with my money. So I had to,
Okay. Your money and your mind, and that doesn't
yes,
work out very well for
right.
anybody.
Exactly. So, yeah, I believe in financial self care, and that is part of it, the mindfulness, the money mindfulness, and shifting your perspective away from the bad news and look at all the abundance around you.
That is awesome. So to me it sounds like you really practice in your personal life value-based spending where you take your personal feelings, your needs, your life situation and you apply that to where your money is going.
Oh yes, absolutely. And it's been a journey. I've not always done that, and I'm still in the process of applying that to my money lifestyle. But I do that more than I did in the past, and I think the main thing is awareness. I'm
Right.
aware of how bad news affects me, how it affects my nervous system. And I think that in our society, the bad news networks that are prevalent around us, the point is to get us so um, tied up in knots, to get our nervous system so dysregulated that we are always in struggle mindset. We're always in
Exactly.
lack and scarcity mindset, and it negatively impacts us. And that's money for them because you continue to pay attention to it and you continue to give all of your energy to it. And so that's advertising dollars for them because the more people that watch, the more people that tune in, the more money they get. And so we have to really be critical thinkers. We have to protect our peace, financial and otherwise, so that we can begin to empower ourselves and move out of that space where other people are pulling the puppet strings and controlling our emotions and the experiences that we have financially.
And I absolutely love that said that surrounding, the news and how people fall into this trap and end up giving them money by
Mm-hmm.
just being stressed out. I mean,
Yeah.
if you live in America like I do, which I'm sure you do based off what
Mm-hmm.
you're saying, our biggest debt is from healthcare. I
Yes.
mean, the average American, they get hurt, life
Mm-hmm.
happens. I mean, and that they end up paying for that for the rest of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
That
Exactly.
and then school, right? And if
Yes.
we look at our African diaspora, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why do we get all the bad news? I mean, we're always stressed, we're
Yep.
always injured, we're always, and we see that. And I think when it comes to time, stress, and just overwhelm,
Mm-hmm.
we end up paying for that a lot more than any other community that we
Yes.
see. And I think we as people, like you said, have to be aware of that and really stop generalizing ourselves, stop putting ourselves in this bucket,
Mm-hmm.
this money bucket that we're pouring into, and really do like you said, does this apply to me? You
Yeah.
are allowed to be your own individual person. That
Mm-hmm.
is so true. And I hope people really start to fall in line with that, because if we reclaim ourselves and
Yes.
and really change the narrative,
Mm-hmm.
things, I mean, come on, who else can be more abundant? Who else?
Yes.
And I love that. I absolutely love that. So then could you recommend how people can handle guilt around spending money on themselves then?
That's a great question. It goes back to really healing those money stories because, like, I grew up in a home where they were saying money doesn't grow on trees, and where do you think we're going to get this kind of money from?
That's
And
true.
so it's like basically, who do you think you are to want things? Who do you think you are to want more than food, clothing, and shelter? And we have to really start to transform that money story, that money trauma that we have. And I believe that by healing that, we can release the shame, release the guilt around money, and begin to make empowered decisions versus scared decisions
Oh
and
gosh, yeah.
change how we want to I don't say distribute our money and even the wording that we use because oftentimes we talk about spending and losing and so the negative connotation around money has to shift and change as well and figure out why do I feel guilty about this? Why am I stressing myself out about this? Why am I feeling? Why am I carrying around the stories of other people? Whether it's family, whether it's church, whether it's culture, whether
Right.
it's the education system. There are so many narratives and stories that have been told to us and projected on us. We have to really see and figure out, well, is this really my story? Is this really the story I want to carry? And we have been so disempowered and made to feel helpless about our journey and experience financially that we believe those stories. We believe that
Right.
our family is always going to be poor, or our family is always going to struggle, or our community is always going to be um, behind the times. We're going to always be in debt. We're going to always, have the highest interest rates, and et cetera, et cetera. And that may be true on some level and for some people, but that doesn't have to be true for you if you decide you don't want it to be true for you and realize
Exactly.
how much power you actually have just by making a decision and making a plan that's going to be beneficial for you.
Choose yourself is
Mm-hmm.
what I'm hearing. Choose
Yes.
you.
Yes. Back to self care, which is foundational. Um, and self care is literally caring about yourself first. And everyone else, that once you're taking care of yourself, once you're good, everybody else is good. And I think if more people
Yes.
really understand that, if I take care of myself, and Kayla takes care of herself, and this person and my family and my friends and everyone takes care of themselves and make sure they're good, then everybody will be good. There will be no need for trying to be superwoman for this person or that person. There will be no need to try to people please because I'm pleasing myself. And so it's just a natural outflow of the energy that I have that I can pour into other people. But I don't really have to pour that much because they're already full. So there's no
They're
need for
already
that.
full. And there's a phrase that my grandma, my aunt, they always say, ever since my cousin and I were little kids, they would say, birds of a feather flock together, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I think a large part of that is, like you said, if you're around people whose cups are already full, you'll be okay, they'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to surround ourselves around people who are powerful, right? People
Yes.
who believe in what we believe in, or people who are also striving for what we're striving for.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody is saying that you have to go out there and be Kim Kardashian or anything
Right.
like that. You have all the money set already, but be mindful of who you are staying around, who you are
Mm-hmm.
drinking with, who you are sharing with, eating with, breaking bread with. It's extremely important to make sure your community of people are also those who are uplifting themselves,
Mm-hmm.
you yourself and your community by just being positive people. And that is so mind boggling how much we don't know that, how much we don't really practice that as people.
Yeah, and that's so true because it's all about that foundational need for safety and safety
Yes.
in our own people groups, our family, the people that we have been born into, grown up around, and with those people being familiar to us, that familiarity makes us feel safe. And so it's harder for us to venture out and find people who are not just safe, but healthy. Because if you're
Right.
born into a dysfunctional family, if you're born into environments that are violent or environments that are abusive, it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter if you don't know any better. Because the only thing you're
Right.
thinking about, I want to be safe. These people are safe. I know these people, they're familiar, and it's my comfort zone. But when you start to change, evolve, and become and put yourself first, then you're going to realize, okay, well, these are not right the people. These aren't the people for me. These aren't the people that are going to help me get to where I want in life. If I stay here, I'm going to be miserable. I will never find happiness because they are miserable and they're not looking for happiness, and or they're trying to extract it from me by using me and my energy, and that's not sustainable.
I'm not sure if you've watched Divorce Court. And when you said that, it kind of reminds me of like when you see those beautiful, powerful women or men, and they're just like you're rooting for them. You're like, yes,
Hmm.
reclaim yourself, move
Hmm.
forward, move on with your life, and they turn around and say, oh, I'll give you another chance. I know
Right.
you can do better.
Right.
You're gonna, yeah, I can see it in you. I can see the change. and
Hmm.
and people don't even realize, you're stunting that person's growth by doing
Hmm.
that. I mean, you already are, you're gaining yourself, and
Right.
and you know what you want, and you're stunting each other by saying, oh, well, you're doing good, you're doing just fine, you don't need to
Hmm.
change. We're gonna be who we are, when you know we are allowed to grow
Yes.
and separate as people. And
Hmm.
if you both grow, or whoever, if you all grow as people and get better, if you had to separate to get better, you guys can come back. and
Absolutely.
and and be a force. You know,
Hmm.
life is ever changing. Yeah, I'm loving this conversation right now. I'm
Oh,
loving it.
good.
Um,
Wonderful.
it then, well, can I ask you then,
Hmm.
what to someone struggling to balance self care and their financial goals?
I would say, first, like I mentioned before, give yourself grace because everyone has challenges. You're not the only one, and that doesn't mean you're not special. You're very special. However, you can give yourself grace and learn that life and your finances, they shift and change all the time, and you get to make decisions based on what you want for your future self, doing things now, the things that will make your future self happy. And they can be small things. And if we look at it or shift the perspective of, finances and self care, they can mesh. That's why I call it financial self care. With the foundation being figuring out who you are, what's your identity, and shifting and changing that identity so that it matches with the life you want to live. And if you quote unquote fail, the only failure is if you stop trying. If you can keep that in mind,
Right.
the only failure is if you stop trying. But if you continue to try, if you do try one thing, it doesn't work out, try something different, like I mentioned before. And shift the judgment, self judgment. Stop judging yourself. That's one of the most important things as well. Give yourself grace, change your perspective, stop judging yourself,
Right.
and begin to create a plan, because oftentimes people don't get what they want because they haven't written it down. They haven't created a plan. They haven't written their dream down and then form those into goals, then transform those goals into tasks. And that makes it a bite-sized exercise or activity that you can do to reach the goal and then finally realize your dream.
I think there was no other way that could have been said.
Good.
There's no other way. And I really appreciate you spending this hour, actually. And I
Yeah.
wasn't expecting this talk to go for so long, but I'm so grateful that it did. Um,
Yes.
and you spending all this time really showing to us how we can do better for ourselves and also think better.
Hmm.
Because you've made me realize that those go hand in hand. I know
Yes.
that you've definitely given me some changes that I want to adapt in my own life. And I want the people to actually figure out how to find you and connect with you
Sure.
and also get in touch with you. And so, can we just spend the last few minutes of you telling us how we can get to know you more and also find you and really hopefully spend some personal time with you as well?
Hmm. Oh yeah, I love to do that. So, um, spending time with me and finding me, I say go and to my website, samanthagregory.com, / Sammy, Sami, and you literally can talk to me one on one through my digital twin. And it could be a text messaging back and forth, or you can do like a voice call, and I'll talk to you. So that's something new, a little innovative project that I came up with because I really wanted to be able to talk to more people, be able to share my experience and my wisdom with them, whether it's about self care, whether it's about financial self care, whether it's about parenting or whatever it is. So that's one of the best ways you can go, and you can learn about me, ask questions, and from my experiences, my books, my courses and coaching, and you can also sign up for coaching through my digital twin as well, and have a deeper experience through that medium. SamanthaRay.com is where you can find out about me specifically. I have a podcast called The Blissful Life. It is on Apple and Spotify, and then also on YouTube. And I'm on social media, so search for Samantha Gregory on, let's see, Instagram and YouTube. And if you want to find my latest and greatest, go to TikTok. I'm there. My handle is at Miss Samantha Gregory, MS Samantha Gregory. And there's some really good content there about self-care, about burnout, about, how to shift and grow. I do offer one-on-one coaching. You can connect with me to find out more about that. But it is so easy to connect with me, talk with me, find out more about, how to transform burnout into balance and bliss so that you can live the life you desire and deserve.
Samantha, you have been an absolute pleasure, and you will be finding me there. I
Awesome.
will be talking to little Sammy Bot, your digital BFF, all day
Yes.
long because I
Yes.
have learned so much, and I know that, like many other people, will find out from my podcast, and I'm sure plenty and plenty of people already know about you through your social media platforms. There is so much to learn, and I look forward to it. I really do.
Good, good. And the great thing about the bot is it's not any generic AI answers that you'll get. It's directly answers from my body of work. Like I mentioned, my videos, my podcasts, my books, my courses, everything. So whatever you ask, you're going to get it straight from me and from my brain, not from generic AI, Chat GPT, and any of those things. It's all from my heart and my mind.
Oh, wow. Thank you for clarifying that because I think we often have this little fear of
Hmm.
AI and our connections to it. And okay, so you know what, guys? Let me rephrase that. I'm not talking to a Sammy Bot. We're talking to Miss Samantha Gregory herself.
Yes.
And I hope that we all participate in this creation. I mean, let's support a Black creator, number
Yes.
one,
Hmm.
and move forward with this future that we have going forward. So, Miss Samantha, I really appreciate your time. I am grateful for you, extremely grateful, and I hope that we get to do this again.
Oh, I would love to do that, Kayla. Thank you so much for having me on your show and for this wonderful conversation. This has been amazing.
Thank you so much. I will talk to you soon, and I will be seeing you next time. Thank you for tuning into today's episode of Beyond the Balance. If this conversation inspired you, be sure to subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Keep redefining wealth, rebuilding your future, and taking control of your financial journey. And always remember, you don't need a perfect balance to make a perfect comeback.